10 o'clock. I say it's time to get started. So welcome everybody. Appreciate y'all joining again. And I think we got a pretty decent lineup for you today. So, just like always, we're going to discuss RFCOs and reorgs. That's what we do here. So get ready for it. I'm sure that's exciting for you. Sorry, Brian, I'm like ruining your part. All right. So with that, let's just kick it off to Brian.
Good morning, everybody. I do get tired hearing myself talk about these things. We have been talking about a lot of this since, 2 years ago. So we've had a few issues come in over the last month about administrative change orders versus negotiated change orders and contractor agreement and expectations with the RFCO and when to use force count, when not to. So I just want to go over this real quick. Our administrative change orders are part of the contract that we've already signed. That's, there's no new pricing or scope. It's based on existing contract provisions. A contractor signature is typically not required. So if we process change orders, that's usually pay penalties and things like that, or changes to the specification that have minor or no effect to the contract or the contract time or cost. We process those without signature and without involvement usually. Usually just for the expeditious nature of that. The contractors, however, on a negotiated change order are supposed to be involved. And we've had a few instances where they were not involved in the submittal of the RFCO, and it was done without their knowledge. So we're just reiterating that if we're changing something in the contract, if there's extra work, differing site conditions, scope changes, the contractor needs to be involved. This is it's not a unilateral contract provision. This is bilateral. It takes both parties. So we changed our RFCO and we've updated the DocuSign process to allow the contractor to actually submit that request first. They submit their pricing, they submit their ROM, the rough order of magnitude and the scope change in their own words, and then you get negotiation between them and the project staff. Some of the issues that we've had as well is where that negotiation has failed to come to fruition or failed to reach an agreement, and I think that may be on the next slide, maybe moving forward, but that's when we would proceed via force account. And there are instances where, whether it be an emergency, oh no, that was project viewer, sorry Les. In cases where we have an emergency issue or something that needs to happen right away, we don't need to waste time on the administrative back and forth of the change order. We have that latitude to allow the contractor to go to work immediately, and we'll track everything, labor, equipment, materials via force account and pay accordingly. So just reiterating some things, some contract 101 stuff that we've had issues with, and I'm sure we will continue to, but we're putting these provisions like the RFCO and the policies in place so that we can minimize those and we can have consistent application. Next slide, please. All right, the project viewer. So we still have a list out there, and let's see, Patrick sent me the update this morning. Let me open this file. We still have, looks like 9 projects that do not have a project viewer or project progress update form in the project viewer. So what happens when we go to that project viewer and look at that project, I don't want to share my screen and mess that up on you, but what happens is that date is not shown. It's just blank. So we're putting that information out to everyone, to all of Louisiana can see this, and there's no information there, or the information is not updated, it's old. I went through the project viewer this morning and just randomly clicked around the state on a few projects, and there's still some that are blank and there's still some that have old information. What I'm asking is that you look at your portfolio of projects. You actually go to the project viewer, and this is our project, our district staff, as well as, if you're a contractor and you're involved in that contract, we're all working in this together to put forth that public image and that success of that project. So take some ownership of that. Look at your projects, the ones you're involved with. Everyone has access to the project viewer. Go in, look at your portfolio of projects, and make sure what's there is accurate, because we're still missing information. The under construction versus completion or open to traffic is also the other issue we're having, where projects have been completed, or traffic is in the final configuration, all the final striping, traffic signs, everything's where it's supposed to be is done. We might be waiting on grass to grow, or we might be waiting on some provision that's administrative, and they're still showing under construction, and maybe it's been done for a year or more. When the public looks at that, we're putting out conflicting information. So there's ways we can do that. There's things, contract provisions such as partial acceptance and other things that we have in our toolbox that we can close projects out and move forward. So just take some ownership of that. Look at it. If it's your project, make sure it's correct. Next slide.
Hey, Brian, before you move on there, Patrick put something in the chat that I think is pretty important, where some people have new projects and they have not run an estimate yet, so they have not put in a form. I think that we want to update our guidance there.
Well, we talked about that last month, Les, that if you do have, just because you haven't run up an estimate yet, if that project has been let and it's showing up on the project viewer, again, that's your project, guys. Go out there, see if they're out there, and put the completion date in. Just put the contract time plus, add it from today's date forward and get an estimate, put it in there. Otherwise, it shows up blank.
Those 9 projects were ones that had an estimate run, but had not had a progress report. There's probably another 10, 15 that are, notice to proceed is gone. No estimate's been run yet. So we'll be sending that list out soon.
Yep. We'll send that list out after the meeting. So if your name's still on this list, it should be any project that just let or just came out, just getting started. We still shouldn't have any projects that are older than that, that don't have project progress update forms. So, all right, the reorg update. I received an email this morning from Michelle Sanders. Let's see. Give me one second, guys. I'm trying to move my screens around. All right, so we submitted on April 2nd the final package for phase 1, and that's the creation of the ADA of maintenance, the ADA of construction, and those positions directly under those. That is converting the district area engineers into those new positions. We had answered all their questions. We had done all the submittal and sent everything in August 2nd. We had not heard back from civil service. I asked the secretary yesterday to bump civil service, and he did. So this is what they said. Civil service has been cross-checking what we've received against what has been proposed to ensure reporting structures and duties are aligned with the intent of how the positions will be or will perform. We anticipate gathering all questions and or feedback regarding the request no later than close of business tomorrow. That's today. So we should know something today about any of their questions that they have, and we've been instructed to move forward with phase 2 as well. Phase 2 is the subordinate positions under those new created positions and the upgrades for the project engineers and some of the other staff at the district. So it's moving forward. It's not as quick as we would like. It takes a lot to move this ship that is LADOTD, and we're running in international waters that are, state civil service, and it takes time. So we're on track. We're moving forward, and I will keep pushing. Next slide. All right. We asked a question last month about charge days, and we got a 50-50 answer on that. So there was a little confusion about how we handle whether to charge or not to charge. and then what to do if there's a dual shift going on. So Les created this nice little flow chart for us. Obviously, if it's a calendar day contract, you charge every day. And then if it's adverse weather or holidays or whatever, you do that accordingly. This is specifically for working day contracts. So is that day exempt from charge? Meaning, is it Saturday, Sunday, holiday? We in a department calls delay. If that's the case, no charge. If the answer is no to that, if it's a work week or if it's a work day, did weather or site conditions prevent all shifts from starting, and was the crew dismissed? And the reason he brings this up is because there's a weather rule dismissal that if the crew has been dismissed because it rained that morning and the project rained out, it's still no charge, even if the conditions improve later. And there were some questions we had on that and a little confusion. So did weather or site conditions prevent all shifts from starting? Yes, no charge. If the answer is no, we keep moving down. Was the controlling work item able to be performed during the shift? If the answer is no, no charge. If the answer is yes, now we go down to the dual shifts. So we're progressing down this flow chart, trying to figure out how, are we going to charge? What happened? And you have a day shift and a night shift. Did the controlling item meet the charge threshold? So we asked some questions last time. Some folks were looking at both shifts, putting that time together. So if it was 2 10-hour shifts, they were combining those hours and then looking at 65% of the total. That is not how we're doing it. The threshold is whichever is greater, 5 continuous hours or 65% of that shift's normal workday hours. So if there's 2 shifts, you evaluate each shift independently. And if either are meeting the threshold, meaning they were able to work on the controlling work item for that full 5 hours or 65%, then that equals a charge day, even if the other shift rains out or has, not able to work. This also
emphasis on controlling. All right.
Say again.
Emphasis on controlling.
Yes, on the controlling work item. So some examples.
The second shift is not controlling,
then it's a moot point, right?
Yeah.
This would be an example like if they're pile driving both crews, right? Both crews are driving pile, and the first shift makes a full shift, and then the second shift's not able to work. You still charge the day. In going through these questions, we came up with this when to start the DWR or how to document that. And Les came up with this shift start date rule. And Les, this is how HeadLight works. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Can you explain that real quick?
Yeah, so what this means is whatever day the shift starts on, like when they start work, just say it was today, the 15th, right? That's the day you're going to put the DWR information on. And HeadLight works this way even for night shift. So if you switch the iPad to run night shift, it's going to pick up your observations, I believe, from noon till noon, and then put all the observations on the day that you started doing the daily work report. And so, even if a contractor starts work at 10 p.m. tonight, that would still be on the all the work, even the work that goes past midnight, would be on the DWR for the 15th. And this just keeps it clean. First of all, just because the software works that way, it makes it easy. But I just remember from an inspector, that was the best way for me to keep up with it. Now, I never ran into a situation where there were dual shifts in my time out there, but that it still applies there and works well there, that everything that starts on the day goes on that DWR, and that's the way we're just going to run it from now on. So no splitting at midnight or anything like that. We need to be doing it one way, and we feel like this is the best since it matches the software.
And we also ran this through what other states are doing and best practices, and our consensus is this is the best way to handle it. We know there's going to be questions about if it was being done, if there's an existing project, it was being done a little different than that. we can reconcile those. We can have those discussions offline with each individual group. And, you know, the point is that we take this policy or this process and go from here forward, not apply it retroactively. And if something's been working on a particular shift and there's particular reasons or caveats why you've made decisions to charge or not charge, and that's working for that particular project, then we'll continue with that. Again, sometimes it's a case-by-case basis. This is just a general policy provision to kind of get everybody in the same mindset and moving, you know, towards that same goal. Trying to have that consistent target for everyone.
Yeah,
I'm sure
Brian,
there'll be a lot of questions.
Yeah, Brian, I think you're right on that. Like, so in those unique situations where something is working differently than we're suggesting here, but it's working well, then you probably need to stay consistent, you know. So this is general guidance. You know, this is not a spec change or anything like that, but we're trying to get everybody moving towards doing it the same way. But we don't want to mess up anything that's in place now. So.
Yeah. So the whole point of what we've been doing in this whole T4LA is that we're trying to move to a unified, consistent application. So if you're bidding work, contractor, in the north or the south or wherever in Louisiana, it's consistent, and you're getting consistent contract administration, sampling and testing, and application, you know, of charging, all these things the same, no matter where you are, so we can limit risk and liability. So this is our attempt to do that. We think this is the best practices, and we'd love to hear from you, you know, if you got any questions. And if there's something you have, like I said, that's very specific or one-off, we can talk offline and discuss that.
Yeah, I want to bring up one thing Justin Gilbo brought up, and we knew this was coming, Justin, where the dual shift does impact calendar day as well when you're trying to determine adverse weather. We realized that, did not have time to put together a document, but we are planning to put one out. It's basically the same. Like Matt answered your question, you know, it'll just say adverse weather there, kind of instead of non-charge day, but we'll try to clean it up and make it fit in a calendar day project a little better. And of course, we're going to send this out with the recap.
Yeah. There's some questions coming in about like calendars and CPM projects, and if it was already a planned non-work period and a holiday or not, you know, something falls in that non-work period, would that be given back via change order? I mean, I guess the answer, the old Barry Lacey response is it depends, right? It depends on what you've done, what we've been doing, what you've talked about, what you have agreed to. And sometimes the department for holidays, for example, will tell them, you know, look, your contract says we have 4th of July, but we don't want you in the road for the days before or the days after, depending on when it falls, you know, that year. The Christmas holiday periods, right? We'll tell you don't work in this period. Then that we give you all that. We give you the benefit of the doubt. We give you that whole period back. We don't try to nitpick on the, you know, well, you didn't plan to work this day, even though we told you not to work for 7 days. So, you know, we use some common sense and some logic and try to be fair and consistent.
Yeah, I'm seeing one more question there that's related to this is from Paul. Will the estimate cutoff date affect this? And the answer is no, it shouldn't. So just say, for example, that the contractor is laying asphalt at night on the last day of the estimate period, right? That would move towards that shift start date rule. So even if they pay past midnight, then everything documented would be on the last day of the estimate. And so you would still pay for those quantities on that estimate. Remember, those estimate, that is our estimate. And so however we're tracking the work, as long as you're consistent, right, it would still be the same thing for the next month. You know, at the end, if they were doing something, you would still track it on that last day. And so it should not affect it if, you know, the estimate cutoff is that day. Even if you do something past midnight, you're well within your rights to put it on this estimate if you're using that shift start date rule.
Yeah. Les, can I share a screen real quick?
Yeah.
Will it let me? Nope. Disable.
No, I'll just turn this off if you can.
All right. All right, so let's see. Let's do this one. All right, can y'all see the map, the project viewer?
Yes.
All right, so this is one of the new maps that we're working on. It's going to be coming out. We've got the pre-construction map, the LPA project map, and then there's new construction map A and B. And what we're looking at is whether this little small map of Louisiana with the districts is going to be here, or if it would be on the other one up at the top. Again, it's just a few different metrics and things. We like this layout. So, for example, I was talking about your portfolio of projects, right? Let's just click on District 2, and it drills down all the projects in District 2, right? So right away, you can just look at your district, and then you know what projects are yours, and you can click on one and say, like, you know, let's look at a project. Just click on it. I encourage everybody involved in these projects to go in and click on these projects, see what the details are telling you. Make sure that all your projects, what you're showing is accurate. And then they've added this project details and project metrics as well. So let's click on another district. And this new map will be out. It'll be live pretty soon. It gives us a little bit more. Yeah, this one's in, it's not in production yet, so they're still working on it. So it's giving me some errors, but bottom line is there are going to be some project details and some metrics, some things that you can kind of drill down into your project. And once we drop that, we'll do a little preview for you guys and show you how it works. But I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention and use that project viewer. If you don't have a link to it, you know, you can't find it, let us know, and we'll show you how to get there. Thanks, Les.
All right, let's move on to Caitlin.
More RFCO talk. So previously we've allowed PEs to fill out the contractor's portion on their behalf. That is no longer allowed. Brian said it a lot nicer than I will. I'll be a little blunt about it. That there was a situation in which pricing and backup pricing documentation was included in an RFCO. So everyone at headquarters, the chief and everybody assumed that the contractor was in agreement with this. After it was fully approved, the contractor called up here asking what was going on because they had never submitted that stuff. So to prevent that from happening, we're no longer allowing PEs to fill it out anymore. You might be thinking to yourselves that one person or group ruined it for the rest of the state, and the answer is yes. We assumed everyone would know not to submit pricing without talking to the contractor, but you know what they say about assumptions. So the templates themselves have not changed. The only thing that's changed in DocuSign is there used to be a note that said the PEs are allowed to submit the contractor's portion or fill it out for them. So now the contractor has to submit the pricing and the write-up themselves. We know that contractors sometimes fill out the PDF and email it to the PE to put into DocuSign, and you kind of like start a partial DocuSign. That is still allowed. However, contractors, you need to somehow put your signature or an initial on that PDF so that when it gets up to headquarters, we know it came from you. And I did update the instructions again to kind of remove that note, and that has been posted to the intranet page, and I'll have Les send out that PDF after the meeting's over. Lastly, I said it last month and I'll say it again, do not attach unsigned RFCOs as backup and change orders. Those are still occurring. It kind of defeats the whole purpose of getting the approval if it's not approved. So from here on out, we are going to send RFCOs back to, or we're going to send change orders back to draft if there's incomplete RFCOs included as attachments. And Vicki, no RFCOs that are in progress, we will not kick those back from here on out. And that's all I got.
Thanks, Caitlin. And next up on the agenda, we have Sarah, who is gonna talk to you about some of the plans and as-built and some changes we're making there.
Good morning, y'all. So I want to go over several processes that will be implemented kind of going forward. First, the Section 40 will no longer be distributing the hard copies of change order plans. Project engineers, you can obtain all change order sheets electronically from the plan room to process your change orders. Once the plans are scanned and, uploaded to general files, the PE should coordinate with the project manager to get paper copies. There'll be that information will be sent out later, but this will be going into effect very, very soon. We're moving to digital as-built slowly. So as of right now, we'll be accepting digital as-built, and going forward, as-built plans will require only a signature on the title sheet when you're verifying and checking those plans. You're still responsible for the whole, all the marked pages and any of the changes, marked in the field, but you only require a signature on the title sheet, and that can be hand or electronic. The signatures on each individual sheet will not be required. This will hopefully simplify that process. And in addition, we have to make several updates to publications to make these changes, including the EDSM. So we'll be issuing a construction memo to implement this process, but probably before those things are updated. And I just wanted to mention also that as of 2026, all those proposals that went out, you may have noticed already, but the contract time provision has been moved to the front of the special provision section. So this was done so you don't have to flip all the way to the back, and hopefully make it easier to find that information. And that's all I have.
Just real quick, I want everybody to know I did put the little QR code there on the bottom left. That is to get to the, to request the paper plans yourself from the people here at headquarters that print those out. And so of course, that'll be there when we send this out as well. Also, there was a question that Daniela posted in the chat about what program will we be using. LADOTD right now, I don't think has anything available. We do have some software that other sections have procured, like Bluebeam and stuff, that would work, but we don't know that everybody has a license for that. We are looking into that and trying to see what we can do there, but some of the CE&I groups that already have it are starting to submit digital as-built, and we just want to make sure everybody knows that that is allowed. So I see Matt has already kind of answered your question there, Daniela. So we're moving forward some of that stuff. If you can get access to it, they're acceptable. So.
And I also like to mention that request form, if you read at the bottom, it also requires you to fill out still the DOTD, the PM actually has to fill that out, and we'll coordinate with them. There's another form that has to go with it, but coordinate that with the PM to get the hard copies. It should be, reproduction should be able to create however many hard copies you need and send it to the district directly.
Thank you, Sarah. All right, moving on. Next on the agenda, we have Matt Jones.
All right, I was busy trying to answer a bunch of chat. So good morning, everybody. This is for contractors as well as project engineers discussing construction layout. So obviously, the specification that we have now talks a lot about the layout book. And obviously, we are moving into a more digital era, and therefore books are not necessarily required. So first thing I want to say is contractors, if you are anticipating being all digital with your construction layout, please notify the project engineer. That way they do not have to get a layout book, fill out the paperwork, send it to you as associated with this project. And then at the end, you turn in a blank, project layout book that has the project information on the first page, because then we can't use those books any longer. So please notify your PE if you don't really need a physical copy of the layout book if you're going to be all digital. We do accept digital submittals. We prefer for that to be on a USB drive, a flash drive, so that we have the digital files accessible there. We are looking to modify our specification to provide you with the proper format that files need to be in, but we do need some kind of documentation that construction layout was completed. If for whatever reason you cannot provide something, we do require that the contractor provide a notarized statement indicating why it is unavailable, why we can't do that. And then also a letter from the project engineer stating that the work was performed in accordance with the contracts and specs, to make sure, again, that the construction layout was performed appropriately and that we are getting something for what we paid for. That is a pay item. There should be some submittal associated with it. So we want to make sure at the end of the project that that information is being submitted and is complete. If you have a bridge job, you should have some sort of files with the elevations for the pile cutoff elevation, caps, risers, decks, all that, for how you had to lay that out. Similarly for reconstruction projects, how that was set up, the temporary benchmarks that you utilized, the construction layout that you did for the base work, for each asphalt lift, for the striping, all that's included in the specification, that, this information should be provided. So even if it's a simple overlay, contractors, you're supposed to pick up what the existing information was from the striping and what the new striping is. So make sure, again, that all that information is being submitted. Again, we're going to modify the spec. We will probably include also some guidance for the automated machine guidance that several contractors are starting to utilize. Again, as part of our e-construction, e-ticketing initiatives, things like that. That is something that's available as well. So we're looking into all that. If contractors are willing to help us out with the spec modification, we are looking forward to doing that.
I would like to add, Matt, we recently talked with our survey group with Stan, and if there's any reason that you feel that the layout or the existing control on the project, that there's a problem, or if you're working in South Louisiana and there's subsidence on the problem and you're having issues with control or benchmarks or layout, reach out to us. We can get Stan's group out there. They can pretty quickly put a crew together or get someone out on the job and come out and verify what's there. And this especially when, driving, piling, and building large structures that are susceptible to subsidence or sinking. So if that's something that's, an issue or something that's a concern you have, reach out to us and we'll get Stan and his group involved. And they're pretty proactive.
Moving on, we're going to move it to Chris Wascom to go over the asphalt pilot project.
Good morning, everybody. So, like Les said, I'm going to give you a little update on the asphalt pilot project. So you probably heard us talking about this for a while now. Just give you a little background. So, we have had a non-destructive testing spec for quite some time, but nobody seems to like it. Nobody's been using it. So we put together a committee to sort of refine that NDT spec and try to come up with a way to implement that I guess, widespread. And so we had folks from Headquarters Construction, Materials Lab, LTRC, some of our district asphalt experts meet with, have several meetings, in-person meetings, and as well as some virtual meetings with our industry partners to try to have a focus on just refining our NDT spec. And we have a spec, you've heard about it, and now we're ready to roll it out. We've got 10 projects listed here that are have been selected to use this asphalt pilot spec on. We've got 3 that have already let. I think 2 actually just let like last week. Then you can see 4 more going to let in May, 2 in June, and 1 in July. So I guess the focus here is really just that if you have one of these projects, just we want to make you aware of the spec and make sure that you go check it out. There are a lot of changes. I said the focus of our committee was, based on, non-destructive testing, but we also took the opportunity to make some other changes that we think is going to really improve our asphalt mixtures here in Louisiana. So next slide, Les. So because there are significant changes, we think it's best that we have some sort of a pre-paving conference. So if you have one of these projects, I think Brian may have mentioned last week, we need to discuss this at the pre-con. We think we even need to take it a step further. The pre-con meetings, there's a lot of things that are discussed that, are not really relevant to this asphalt spec. So there's a lot of folks there that don't really care to hear all of this discussion. And likewise, this asphalt discussion there's probably going to be some folks there that don't really care to or need to be involved in all of the other discussion that takes place at the pre-con. So we think there actually needs to be a separate pre-paving conference, and kind of listed a few folks here that need to be involved. Obviously, the project engineer, and from the project engineer's office, the lead inspector, really anybody involved in QA for asphalt. The asphalt contractor, obviously, if it's a sub, that's the guy that needs to be there. And his plant QC, as well as the roadway QC, needs to be there. The district lab engineer, as well as the asphalt district inspector, the ADI from the district, anybody involved in QA for asphalt. We'd like you to invite the materials lab, as well as Headquarters Construction, and as well as LTRC. I forgot to list them here, but they're going to be involved in using their pave scan equipment. So it's an additional technology that we're trying to implement. We want to have them involved, and we think this meeting should take place, 3 or 4 weeks before the paving operation kicks off. That way we have time to get everybody on the same page, answer any questions and just highlight these changes because they are significant. And I've listed a few of them here. So, asphalt binder requirements are changed. We're using higher grade of asphalt. Mixed design criteria, some of the consensus property values have changed. Wrap content's different. The number of gyrations used for your design's different. The LWT values are different. Some of the friction rating, some of the blended gradation requirements are changed slightly. And then the validation process is significantly different. Lot sizes are changed. The way we're doing density testing, obviously, we're going to be doing non-destructive testing versus coring. So, the frequency of testing, the location of testing, there's a lot of changes. Pay determination is going to be different. So it's going to be on an average versus PWL. So there's a laundry list of changes that if you're not familiar with it, we really need to all get on the same page and discuss how we're going to manage these projects and just, we want this to be successful. And we think we've made some improvements to our spec that hopefully we can carry on. This is obviously a pilot project. So, we expect there's going to be some bumps no pun intended, but some bumps in the road to try to get, get us all on the same page and, it's a learning process for all of us. So, the goal of this is I think Brian's mentioned it a few times. We don't intend to be punitive in this. We intend to work with our contractors. We want to improve our specs and, we're going to work through it together. If there's any questions about it, please don't hesitate to call us, but just please make a focus to have these conversations early and often so we can work through this together and we can, teach each other and what we learn from one area or one district we can carry that to another district and try to improve it as we go through these 10 projects that were selected. So that's all I got.
Chris, just to reiterate what you were saying, in not being punitive, in particular, this pilot spec. If we have issues or we're having trouble getting passing tests or things, we're not looking to use that and deduct that from the contract. We're going to work with the contractors, work out a way to find a solution and use this as a learning experience. So it's positive. We have positive outcomes. So appreciate it, Chris. Thank you.
Appreciate that. So next up, I'm going to give a short update here on a couple of things. One is HeadLight limbs. So I know that most of you have heard that we are moving away from site manager, and we are coming to the part where we're going to be moving away from the limbs part of site manager. I think over the past few months, we've had some pretty good success with the contract administration estimates and change orders. Not every bug is worked out there, but overall, I've heard good stuff about it, and people definitely like not having the syncing. And so yesterday at about 2 o'clock, we held a kickoff webinar. Well, I say HeadLight held a webinar yesterday, and not everyone was invited. HeadLight sent me a list of all of the PEs and labs that had a 2026 spec project. And I sent that out, and of course that link got forwarded around and some other people showed up, which is totally fine, but just know that wasn't meant for everybody. So if you didn't get one, don't get your feelings hurt. That it's coming. But we wanted to just kind of tell you real quick, if you get a 2026 spec project, those are not, the specs are not in Site Manager at all. So there's no way to do samples using Site Manager. Those projects will be HeadLight only. I know you've been hearing about hot projects. This is like full scale hot project, even the limbs part and doing your samples there. The system is not 100%, really probably not even close to 100%. We kind of ran out of time, and HeadLight is putting things together quickly and starting to roll this out. We discussed this on a meeting yesterday. Sometimes you just got to start doing something so it'll get done. And we know that's going to be a little struggle. So we, hope that y'all just work with us and work through these things, try to provide as much feedback as you can. You can see that's one of my bullets there. I will share how to get to that issue reporting form. I do have a meeting with HeadLight today to go over that form because it is not optimized for submitting tickets for limbs. It's more along the HeadLight contract administration side of it. And so we're going to kind of update that to give you a little better outlet for the feedback or bugs or anything that's wrong with the system. There will be training coming. Their goal right now is they call it triage, which means make it a point to get the 2026 spec projects that are current, get those people trained first and fast, because there are some samples right now that have HeadLight forms and the labs have no idea what to do with them, and rightly so. So trying to get you guys trained up on that and get caught up on those things. One of the things we mentioned from the LEDOTD side yesterday is that, the scariest part about going into a new system like this is I don't want to get to the end of my project and have issues with my ATM or my 2059, right? And so just know that headquarters is here to work with you on that, over the next few months. If there are issues with the system that cause it not to be where it needs to be or have the samples on there that you need, make sure that you are well documented, even if the test results are on a spreadsheet or something. Make sure that the QA work was done and that's well documented, and we'll help you get through those ATM issues and get them passed and get them through. We're not just gonna say, oh, you didn't do it or whatever. So we'll help you get through that. So something that you shouldn't worry about there. Now, moving on to getting help, I'm going to start with HaulHub because I've been getting this quite often. Donna LeBlanc in the e-construction group normally handles all of the HaulHub stuff that comes in. Of course, you send it to the email group, the e-construction email group, and anybody who's on there that grabs it tries to help you with this, but she does the bulk of it. But some of that stuff's been coming in through email. I want you to know that HaulHub does have a mechanism for you to submit tickets. It is built into the HaulHub app, and this is one thing. This is not the contractor side. I'm not sure. The contractors do have a way to get support from HaulHub, but it is not this way. This is mostly for our C&I groups and our LADOTD PE offices. And you'll notice it is this little plant icon here at the top of the app. You just select that, and when you do this, screen will pop up. It would actually show some other tickets that are in progress, but you'll just hit this report a new issue button down at the bottom. HaulHub's very responsive. They have a big support team, and they work through issues. And this is a great way to submit feedback as well. So if you're not seeing something you need to see on a ticket, this is where you would submit that. Now, moving on to HeadLight support, and this is the form I was saying that we were going to go over today. There's a QR code to help you get to it if you are not familiar with this. Our standard advice has always been to submit a ticket to support@headlight.com. That email address still works, but if it is something that they need details on, they're likely going to forward you over to this reporting form anyway. It does require a little bit more time. And the reason that happens is when they report this over to their development team, there's a lot of questions, right? To fix something, they need as much information as possible. And I've seen some of those emails come in like, hey, I'm having a problem on my project, and that's all they get, right? So there's a lot of back and forth with emails trying to zone in on what the problem actually is. And so HeadLight created this form so that you could fill in a lot of that information at the beginning, and it asks you some questions to try to guide you through the information they need. And that saves a lot of time and all that email back and forth. So anyway, this is the way you're going to report it from now on. And like I said, we'll adjust this today to kind of help with some of those limbs things. And so with that, I am going to move it over to Patrick. He's next up on the agenda with some, I guess, not so good news.
And I'm surprised I had a speaking part.
Yeah.
Sure.
Citrix deactivation.
Yeah. So OTS kind of sprung this on us. And we've basically told them that they wanted to do this. So they've sent out all the notifications and all the requirements and everything. And, we basically showed them where there was about 1,200 active users in Site Manager. And from the list we got yesterday, about 180 people have converted to the new HID, the H number. And what they were saying yesterday was sometime on 4/15, which is today, Citrix will go poof. It may have already done it. I haven't looked. And you will no longer be able to log into Citrix. You will have to use their new AVD environment, which requires you to register a new H number. And they will clone all of your previous C number information in Site Manager, so you will still retain all of your contract authority and roles and security. But the new H number requires you to take a couple state mandated training classes. And Jeff Faust says it's been turned off. And it's supposedly a little faster, but we've only had 4 to 10 people in it. So we'll see, I guess today as it gets loaded with lots more people. And if you have any issues, you should funnel them through Clyde Ashley for the majority of the stuff. If it's related to site manager, feel free to reach out to us. But we're trying to, I guess for the word they used earlier, trying to triage this because it was kind of a last minute, and it sounds like they just got the AVD environment up earlier this week. So appropriate picture.
Fun times. I will say I submitted a case to OTS yesterday to get somebody's Citrix account reactivated, and they did send me an email with kind of the notice that they're no longer doing that. And they did send a document to me that had some instructions for using the new environment. So happy to send that out to anybody who needs it. I've started forwarding it along so far. That's likely what you'll get from our team if you submit something to us saying you can't get in. That's pretty much all the information we have right now. Again, this was not the E-Construction's fault or our idea. And so we're just trying to, do the best we can with what they're providing us. So hopefully we can give you some help.
And they're supposed to be updating all the existing Citrix links and whatnot on the DOTD internet pages to target all the new stuff. So hopefully all that gets done today.
Thanks, Patrick. And now next up on the agenda is Dallas.
So this is mostly just related to the H number change. I've been told that the C numbers will still work because the TCLB app is outside of Citrix. But as you transition to H number, that C number may not continue working to formats to log in to each type of contract or each type of account is shown on the screen. So it's no longer entering in the domain prior to your number. It's putting your number in with @swe.la.gov at the end. But you can continue to try your Citrix or what used to be your Citrix ID, Site Manager ID. And if you haven't changed to H number, that will probably still work. If that does not work, try your H number in the format shown. And if neither of those work, submit paper diaries while we work through it. This is a transition process, so there's probably going to be users, maybe a lot of users that are having issues. So we should be coordinating with the project engineers, submittal of diaries if you can't get into the system.
Thanks, Dallas. One thing that I was going to do at the beginning of this call, but it slipped my mind, but I think it's a good time to do it now. We do have a polling question this week that's more of a scenario-based question. I think it's still good to do it because we try to use these questions to gauge if everybody's on the same page. And it was really telling last month when we sent the one out that we got 50% of people thought one way and 50% thought the other way. So if we get higher numbers on these types of questions, I think it's good to know that we're all on the same page and it's not something we need to deal with. So if you'll take just a minute to answer this question, I'll go ahead and launch it.
While we're waiting on that, I just want to mention that we are still wanting you guys to submit topics for discussion. We just ask that you work within your respective groups. So the districts at your PE area engineer meetings, you run those up the chain and compile them and summarize them. So we're not duplicating effort and getting questions from everyone, but kind of run them up the flagpole, send them to, summarize them, send them up to the top and send them to us contractors. Utilize AGC. to do the same, and our consultants and CE&I partners just, make one submittal per firm. Just try to get those in enough time so we can prepare something for the next webinar. If there's something that we're doing that y'all like, or we're doing that you don't like, or something we'd love some suggestions as well. We want this to be a very proactive, useful hour. We don't want to just get used to doing this and kind of going through the motions. If it's no longer valid, if we're not making progress, if it's not useful, we need to know that. We need to know how to change that. So love to hear from you.
Thanks, Brian. I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll. We've got a pretty good amount of people who have participated. This one is much better. I'm gonna share the results. So proceed via
Looks pretty good. Yep.
Yeah, good. So I don't feel like this, with that amount of percentage, I don't think this is something we really need to go over much. I think that is the correct answer, is proceed via force account. We're not trying to slow down projects, so just get it handled right. All right, appreciate y'all doing that, and we still have 3 minutes left for questions if you guys have any.
There was a question that someone texted me about the flowchart list. Would that be made available?
Absolutely, yeah. It'll go out with the recap email I send every week. As soon as I get the video edited and up on our YouTube page, I send out a recap of everything we talked about and links to everything we talked about. And so we will include that. It'll be in the presentation, but I'll try to see if I can
do a separate PDF. That way, if they want to forward just that to someone,
Like to bring up just a question that's come to me recently, is the divided construction activity provision. Just to clarify for others, we are not putting that in contracts, and we're advising those to make, where they have to use, relocate a good amount of utilities, that they do a separate clearing and grubbing job. Just want to clarify for others that that's correct.
All right, we got a couple minutes left. Any questions?
Oh, Kevin Adams had a question. Will the Adobe electronic signature be accepted for electronic as-built plans? I don't know the answer to that.
So we've been given guidance from legal that electronic signatures are viewed as legal signatures. So my answer would be yes.
Is it something though that you have to be logged in with that signature attached? I'm wondering if Adobe, you could just type your name in and that's counted as a signature.
There's a way to set up electronic signatures in Adobe.
Yeah, we'll work through those individual issues as they come. We're working to procure the software and standardize the process. In the meantime, we'll work through it, get them done. Whole point of this is to make it easier. We don't want people hand signing thousands of sheets of paper. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
Then get scanned and a digital copy is made.
So. Yeah. Even when you sign them by hand, they still get scanned in, and so I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
All right, we're at time. We again appreciate all of you taking the time to join us. And like Brian said, we would love if you guys would get together and send us some topics so that we make sure that we're covering the things that you need us to cover on these meetings, and not just talking about RFCOs and that kind of stuff the whole time. So
yeah, we want to be relevant. So
yeah, we do. All right, thanks again, everybody. Appreciate y'all joining. Have a good one.